going on, everyone? So one of the big needs the Lakers had for quite some time, right? They rounded out a beautiful roster, got good size, good depth, good versatility. Were just stacked at the forward positions. But the one thing they lacked was another center. You had Anthony Davis and you had Jackson Hayes. Until late last night. And we officially got Christian Wood. That is right. The Lakers have stacked the deck at this point, and Rob Pelinka deserves all his flowers. This is what a team looks like when Rob Pelinka is allowed to do it by himself, right? Rather than input from, LeBron, AD, Jeanie Buss. But regardless, this is a huge pickup for the Lakers, right? The Lakers, they needed another guy that can man the center position. Christian Wood can absolutely do that. Yes, he's kind of more of a power forward than a true center, but talent trumps everything, right? And at the end of the day, you want to put the best roster possible on the court. Yes, Jokic, he's a big concern. He's a big body, but you're never stopping him, right? The only thing you could do is just continuously throw bodies at him to try to tire him out and slow him down. And also, he has to be able to stop guys, right? Like, that's a big thing. And if the Lakers can keep up pace, which last year, the Lakers were in every single one of those games, right? We just needed to close out. If the Lakers had Christian Wood, the Lakers probably win that series. So you add in Christian Wood, and then on top of that, you add, Gabe Vincent, a Jackson Hayes, a Cam Reddish, a Taurean Prince, right? Like Max Christie, hopefully he takes some strides. D'Lo and this roster will be more comfortable, right? Like a lot can change. The biggest question mark is just the chemistry, right? Can they build that chemistry? Can they build those relationships? And then also just the role, right? And on top of that, will Christian Wood be a locker room issue or will he be willing to buy in? Now, the biggest one, obviously, is chemistry and him buying it, right? I think, personally, the fit will be seamless. Because his skill set, his ability to score at all three levels, his ability to make plays. Now, he's a bit lackluster defensively, but he's had pretty solid defensive seasons. Like, he had that 1 year in Detroit where he was actually really good defensively. And he still gives you like 1.5 blocks per game. So he's a guy that can still block shots. But also, what he does is he allows Anthony Davis to kind of play in that scout role, which Darvin Ham loved to play him in, where he can kind of be the help defender, the blindside help. And I just think that adds a lot of value. Christian Wood and his ability to stretch the floor, knock down threes, operate in the mid-range, get to the basket. He's a guy you could dump the ball down to if your offense is struggling a bit, and he could just go generate buckets. All of those things are going to be massive. But the biggest thing, outside of, again, like the two that I mentioned, is just what is his role going to be, right? Like, what do the Lakers do as far as his type of role? Is he a guy that is going to be, the primary big off the bench, right? And you kind of keep the continuity of D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, Vanderbilt, LeBron, and AD. Personally, I have no issues with that, right? That was a starting five that was more than capable of making it to the Western Conference Finals. It'd be nice to kind of keep that balance, keep that chemistry intact. And then, you have a backup unit of, you could even go big and go like Gabe Vincent, say Max Christie or Cam Reddish. I think one of those two will very likely be the odd man out. Then you have something like a Rui Hachimura. Then you have Jackson Hayes and Christian Wood. It's a really good backup five, right? The other alternative is you put them in like a starting role, right? You have these three of LeBron, Christian Wood, and Anthony Davis kind of manning the front court with like a D'Lo and Austin Reeves in the backcourt. My big concern with that, offensively, good luck trying to stop that. Defensively, I concern myself with Anthony Davis having to overexert himself on the defensive end, where I kind of like Jared Vanderbilt in that role of like, now you have AD and Vando as like the point of attack guy, right? Austin Reeves is a good defender. And then you have Christian Wood, if he can buy in and use his length, use his size, he's 6'10", 7'3" wingspan, right? So he has the tools, but if Darvin Ham can get him to buy in just to be serviceable, again, not saying he has to be a leader or anything like that, but just be serviceable, right? Then your weakest link defensively would be D'Angelo Russell, right? And I just think that that would be more of a balance, but you would have to put more likely LeBron at like the point guard for position's sake. He doesn't necessarily have to play the point guard, right? Because that's a big thing. He doesn't want to have to play point. He doesn't want to have to run the ball up and all that stuff. But if you went with like Reeves on the court, Reeves wants to be the point guard. Reeves, the Lakers want Reeves to kind of handle the ball more and be more on the ball. So for position's sake, right, you could have LeBron start at point or start at the 2 guard and then have Jared Vanderbilt at the 3, or vice versa. I guess you could do Jared Vanderbilt at the 2, right? Basically, the point is like go positionless basketball and then have like real size where your smallest guy on the court would be Austin Reeves. And but with that, the concern would be 3-point shooting, right? Christian Wood is a guy that can hit the 3 ball. He's very good at it. He's like 38% or something like that for his career. But LeBron was atrocious from 3 last year. Jared Vanderbilt, same thing. But can he improve, right? And then you have Austin Reeves, who, he's 40+%. Anthony Davis, can he kind of find that 3-point stroke? I definitely think it's a lineup that you toy with, that maybe you throw out there and kind of see how it looks. But the real question is just like, what role in how many minutes is Christian Wood really going to play, right? I imagine that there was a level of conversation. I imagine that Christian Wood asked, like, what do you see me doing and how do you see me playing in this type of role? And my guess is Darvin Ham probably pointed to like a Brook Lopez and said, we have you and Anthony Davis in that role, right? Of like the 2 big role, and you and your ability to stretch the floor and operate in the mid-range and whatnot, right? Like, also, do they start AD at the 5 and then have Wood at the 4? That's something else that they could do. My guess is, again, they probably start Wood at the 5 and then have Anthony Davis as in the kind of scout role, as I mentioned, right? He's just kind of like, 1 foot in, 1 foot out in the perimeter space. He's got the length and the size to close out, even with some good distance and affect 3-point shots. But he can still, luckily with that size and length, he can kind of stay inside. But there's a lot of different ways that you could operate Christian Wood. My guess is that they told him, like, hey, I don't think they guaranteed that he would start, but I think that they probably guaranteed that he would play significant minutes, right? My guess is that they told him that, you're going to have a big role. You're probably going to play 25+ minutes a game, which I think is really interesting as well, right? Like, I think that that's something that makes sense, right? Because Christian Wood gives us Anthony Davis insurance, because AD is going to miss 20+ games, right? But it also gives us the assurance in the sense of like, Anthony Davis isn't going to have to overexert himself with Christian Wood, who, is on the offensive side very similar. He's nowhere near the defensive guy, but he is a guy that could go and basically score from anywhere on the court. And that is very valuable. And so I could see him playing several positions, right? I could see him playing the center position, playing the power forward position. Do they use him kind of like how Utah uses like Lauri Markkanen, right? And maybe play him at like the 3 in spots? Again, his ability to kind of shift his feet and whatnot. And then you have kind of Anthony Davis manning the center position, or maybe like a Jackson Hayes. You could even go with like a 3-man big lineup, like how Utah does. Again, I definitely think the beauty of this depth and this type of roster is there's so much experimentation that you can do and get different looks in different sets, but you also have to monitor it in the same way, right? So it's gonna be interesting to see how this plays out. But my guess is his role is either the backup or starting center, plays around 25 minutes a game, and he gives you probably 15 and 8, somewhere in that ballpark. Maybe it's like 13 and 8. Because I could see his point total going down a little bit just because you got LeBron James, you got Anthony Davis, you got Rui Hachimura, you got, D'Lo, you got Austin Reeves, right? You got so many guys that can just put the ball in the hoop, right? So I'm curious to see if he has a dip. But in the same breath, like, does he average the same or more because he's getting more wide open looks, right? He's not like the second guy like he has been on most teams where he has to actually fight and defenses are kind of targeting him. He can kind of just like operate and just kind of be an afterthought in a way, right? I think he's definitely going to have an impact on this Lakers roster. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But I'm just curious to see to what level is he able to find his spots and the type of role Darvin Ham has for him. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? What type of role do you want to see Christian Wood have? What type of role do you think he should have? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it, so let me know down in the comments.